The time has arrived. NBA Draft Roundtable discussion commences now. Yours truly, Sam Ekstrom and Tom Schreier, in as always. Zach Bennett joins in studio along with Sam Gordon. Zach, welcome to the program.
Thank you again for having me. It's good to be here.
Last night you texted me and you said the takes will be hot.
The takes are always hot.
Good. Piping hot, hopefully. Sam, you're locked and loaded as well. Here's how it's going to work. Two of us are going to be on Team Okafor. I think that's probably the underdog side at this point. That team will be Zach Bennett, who recently wrote about Okafor and Towns for Cold Omaha, 105theticket.com. I'll be on your team, Zach. We're going to lobby for Jahlil Okafor. Tom and Sam, we've given you the high ground. You guys have the leverage of arguing for Karl-Anthony Towns. Now I want to read a brief disclaimer. The following views reflected within Cold Omaha's roundtable discussion do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the individuals involved. The debate is meant to create a fair argument for both sides of the Okafor-Towns dilemma. And please don't hate me, Ben Holson.
This will save us from losing out on job opportunities down the road.
Right. Our takes are not necessarily our opinions. This is kind of a theater.
They
exercise.
might be. They might be though.
Well, I don't know about you, Zach. I mean,
Zach is pro Okafor, yeah.
If you want to have your strong Towns opinion put into question and put under scrutiny, read his article on 105theticket.com because it will make you question everything. All right. Opening arguments. I think that because we have the lower ground here with Team Okafor, I think we should be able to go first, and then you guys can counter. So, Zach, I give the floor to you. Let's get it going.
You said we gotta go first? I thought we had the lower ground, so they gotta go first.
No,
all right.
Yeah, because we're the underdogs, so it's like being the road team. We get to bat first.
You guys are the road team.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna read a segment, and I want you to tell me who you think it is. It's blank. Skill level operating in the post with his back to the basket is still impressive as ever. He boasts extremely high levels of coordination, mobility, footwork, and a dangerous combination when paired with his physical attributes. His spin moves and drop steps are strong enough to create separation against NBA defenders, and he's capable of consistently getting to the basket off both finesse and power moves. Now, who does that sound like? Jahlil Okafor, right? DeMarcus Cousins, scouting report out of college. 67% free throw shooter, didn't take a lot of jump shots, very good ball handler for his position. The narrative that Okafor is a poor free throw shooter is correct. Doesn't necessarily translate to his outside shot, I think, because he only took 2 jump shots in college last year. 2! That's how good of a ball handler this guy is. He's able to get to the basket a lot of different ways and get to the free throw line, and it's not entirely out of the question that he can improve in those areas.
Well, and the NBA has said recently that they're going to likely eliminate Hack-a-Shack from the game. They're going to have discussions at the competition committee later this month and throughout the offseason. Adam Silver has said that the league is going to evaluate that because it's not good for the fan. That would make him less of a liability with his free throw shooting, which, again, at his young age can easily improve from where it is now, which I think is 51%.
I think it's hard to improve free throw shooting in the NBA when you get to that higher level in the bigger arena. I also just look at fit. Again, with the Wolves, I understand you want to take the biggest talent off the board, but there is no LeBron James, there's no John Wall, there's no kind of clear-cut, a Kyrie Irving, a clear-cut, number one guy. You only take D'Angelo if you think he is really much better than everyone thinks he is. Otherwise, Towns, I think, as a defensive player, he doesn't obviously have the deficiencies with the free throw shooting. He has size. Now, he's about 250, not 275. But I think he's a fit for kind of a run-and-gun team. He'll complement, Zach LaVine. He'll complement a Ricky Rubio. He'll complement Andrew Wiggins and Muhammad. And I think you have to go with fit. Don't overthink it. And I really think Towns is the way to go.
I mean, Karl-Anthony, he's a modern NBA big that can play both positions, can run the floor. He'll defend. He'll block shots. He will rebound. And he'll give you enough offense right now in his career so where you have to at least respect him. I mean, nobody's saying he's 2000 Shaq right now, but he has enough offense. He has a soft touch on his jump shot, and he's got a couple post moves to where you can feed him, and he can bring big men out of the paint because he can play away from the basket because he's a modern big. He can do a little bit of everything, and that type of versatility is look at what Golden State did. They had a versatile team, and that type of versatility is something that you want if you're building a team in today's NBA.
Tell him, Sam. Tell him. Get him back.
Okay, Zach, I think you have the number. How many minutes per game did Karl-Anthony Towns play in college?
Just above 20, lower than 21.
21 minutes. So the assumption here is that Karl-Anthony Towns will play the same way for 35 minutes a game that he did for 20. And people extend his minutes out and say, well, he would have been a 23-point-per-game scorer. He would have averaged a double-double if he played starters' minutes. But how do you know that? How do you know that Towns, when given that much workload, will hold up medically? How do you know that he'll be able to sustain conditioning-wise that type of play? When you play in small bursts in a talented team like Kentucky, of course you can look that good because you're always high on energy. Your team is your supporting cast is phenomenal. But Towns hasn't had to carry a load yet. He's had a lot around him. So will he necessarily be able to sustain the Kentucky version of Towns and translate it to the NBA when he's playing huge minutes every night?
Well, you make a very interesting point, but I don't see there's any reason. I don't think they're going to ask him to carry the offense for all 40 minutes. You have an Andrew Wiggins in place. You have a Shabazz Muhammad who can score a little bit. I'm not sure what they're going to do with Kevin Martin this offseason, if you're going to move him or not, but he can score too. I think they're going to be able to nurse Towns into the NBA by playing him. I imagine he'll probably play somewhere between 28 and 30 minutes a game as a rookie, maybe a little more, but I don't see him having to play big minutes. And then you mentioned conditioning. I bring that up about Okafor too. That's a big concern about him, is if he can be in NBA shape, where Okafor is a guy where you want to have him out there for 35 minutes a game for his low post gifts. Can he be dominant for 35 minutes? I raise that question to you. What about Okafor's conditioning?
Well, didn't he play over 30 minutes a game in college, and didn't he win a championship as one of the primary players on that Duke team?
Both very valid points, yes.
Yeah, he did, but this is the NBA we're talking about. This is where you have back-to-back.
You backed him into a corner, Zach.
Three games in 4 days.
I'll take out Bennett. You go for Sam.
We've got it on video, so there would just be carnage on this. I would like to counter a few points. Even if you remember Gorgie Jang's rookie year, couldn't stay on the floor, foul machine.
Right.
Didn't have a lot of those qualities, or I guess disqualities, negative traits in college. But with Towns, he's playing next to Willie Cauley-Stein at Kentucky, one of the best defenders in this draft, if not the best defender in this draft. Had more than, let me count. Math is hard. 37 more fouls than Willie Cauley-Stein did in 200 minutes less than
he's handsy.
What I guess my point here is that the NBA is a different game. You're gonna have to just kind of throw him in there and see. And obviously the Wolves can't do that. They're gonna draft a guy, and that's their guy. But the one thing you can control is your medical staff, and I believe Greg Farnham is kind of on the, I guess, upper echelon or whatever, kind of a little ahead of the game when it comes to that stuff. There was a ESPN feature in the magazine about the biometric tests that are coming to the NBA, and Greg Farnham was quoted in that article as a guy who's kind of ahead of the game when it comes to medical testing. The Wolves have to trust their own people to keep people healthy. And so I guess what you do in college, I understand there is some makeup things. I'm sure they're going to do tests with these players. I'm sure they're going to look at bone structure and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, you have to trust your medical staff to keep your guys healthy. So I guess I'm not as concerned about that aspect with this.
I agree. You don't draft a guy based on whether or not he's going to get injured or who you think will have the more, less health problems, I guess. Going back to the fit, you want to talk about fit and Towns being the more modern NBA player. This is the Wolves we're talking about. This is Flip Saunders' Stone Age offense. Post-ups, mid-range jump shots. So is Towns even the right fit for the Wolves? If fit is your argument, or is Okafor the better?
Here's my argument, though. You take the guy. The reason why you get Towns is not only is he a fit for the team, but I think hopefully someone in there is talking to Flip and being like, look, this is in 1995. And I understand the thing with the three-point shooting. Part of me thought, hey, he didn't want Wiggins taking threes. He wanted him to get the basket. Levine actually, I think, had a good month where he did shoot pretty well, but he didn't want Levine sitting around shooting threes either. Get to the basket. You need to be a slasher. Dunking is what will make you a name for yourself in the NBA. So in my mind, don't take an old age player because that's only going to make your team kind of old age and you're going to be left behind. You have to stay ahead of the curve if you're the Minnesota Timberwolves, and that's why you got to get Towns.
And I think Towns can play any style of basketball. You want to walk the ball up the floor. He can shoot mid-range jumpers. He has a little bit of a post game. As where if you take Okafor, you kind of have to play that way because he's not versatile enough yet. Nobody's saying he can't be, but he's not versatile enough yet to where you can kind of run and gun with him and get trust him 15 feet away from the basket. And on top of that, I mean, Flip's not going to be the coach here forever, right? The chances are that Flip is going to be a coach here for a couple more years, if that, and then they're going to bring in this. He's going to find a guy he wants to run this team and coach these guys for the bulk of their careers if they indeed stay in Minnesota. So I think you have to draft based on not just this year, because you're going to stink this year regardless, but long term as well.
I'm saving up my takes. I'm holding it back for the next
Cooking 'em in
segment.
the oven,
I'm-
cooking 'em, heating them up.
I'm gonna let them just sit
Marinate?
and soak and marinate, and we're gonna get back to it as the debate rages on after the break on the Wake Up Call.